Okay, hello everybody. For those of you who know me, I'm not Roy Chua. I'm not the moderator of this session, but my name is David Hudson, and I'm the Chief Engineer of the Telecom Infra project, and welcome to the session on Telco Cloud. I do apologize for starting a little bit late. I think Roy is probably caught up on the main stage where he's emceeing the whole event, so I'm stepping in to moderate the first session for him. Telco Cloud is a really important topic for everybody in the industry today. There's a lot of digital transformation going on, and Telco Cloud plays a massive part related to that, whether you start looking at public and private models or hybrid models for deploying cloud, where cloud will be based throughout the network on an end-to-end scenario. There are lots of different discussions that we can have on how cloud is being applied in the telecommunications space today. However, today we're going to talk about two main aspects. One is management of telco cloud. How do operators manage multiple telco clouds they have throughout their network in an end-to-end way that is consistent to deploy things like network slicing in an end-to-end manner? And the second is going to be a discussion that we're going to be having related to security. Obviously a big topic that we hear today related to Open RAN and other cloud-based technologies. Can we learn from what has happened in the IT world with Telco Cloud? And how does it apply? What are the challenges? What are the next steps that we need to work together as an industry to help to make Open RAN and Telco Cloud a success for us all? So without further ado, let me introduce our panelists for the session. So guys, if you want to come up and take your seats. So we have, let's see, Gil Hellman from Wind River. Thank you, Gil. Luis Valverde-Tazon, who's the head of Infra Cloud at Telefonica. We have Pompeo Soto from NTT Data, and Tanan Garcia from Red Hat. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's start with some questions. Roughly, how would we define what the telco cloud is? And maybe I'll start with the operator, so Luis, if you just want to give us an overview of what you think telco cloud is and how it applies to your area.
Okay, telco cloud is a platform that provides a pool of compute resources to be used by different applications and functions in an operator. An important thing for the telco cloud is not just one single platform. It is a mix of different virtualization environments that work together to guarantee that follow the cloud-native principles and work together to guarantee that these workloads are properly deployed in the right site at all times. And to do this, to guarantee this, the telco cloud needs to provide three main capabilities or characteristics. One of them has to be multi-site, meaning multi-location, so it has to be distributed because applications may be running in different places. It has to be multi-vendor, so vendor agnostic and based on standards, and I forgot the last one. And it has to be multi-technology because we need to provide different technologies in an hybrid based on the public and private environments. And these are the main characteristics for a telco cloud.
Okay, great. So what about from a vendor perspective? Maybe start with you, Gil. Why is telco cloud different from a traditional cloud-based technology? And if we're looking at other aspects that could play a part in this area, such as edge, how does this all fit together from your perspective?
Sure, I think you need to look at the operational sides of things, and you need to look at how many sites. If you're looking at traditional clouds, even the core, an operator will have a few of those. It literally will be 2, 3, maybe 10 of core sites. Versus if you're looking into the edge and far edge, especially like the radio site, for example, you're talking in the thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. And you're talking also geographically distributed. So to deploy it and to service it, it's a whole different challenge. And you basically also need to match the operational ways of done in the traditional way, the boxes, if you want to call it, the PNF. Okay, so how do I deploy, how I update tens of thousands of sites within one maintenance window, for example. And then, of course, comes the performance. And the performance in the far edge requires a much higher performance, lower latency latency, and footprint. It needs to fit in a much smaller footprint, power consumption, all those challenges that you don't face them in a big cloud.
Okay. Hanan, do you agree with that assumption? Is there anything else that you want to add on top of that?
Yes, so Gil and Luis framed it pretty well. So there is the scale, and there is the automation as well, part of it. That is native to the Telco Cloud. Of course, in the scale, as you guys was mentioning, is moving from the data center into any place in the network, even on the far edge. And that bring as well a series of requirements toward that Telco Cloud. Be able to run core functions, the core network functions on the data center is not the same as running a specific RAN software in the far edge. And all those capabilities need to be built in on that Telco Cloud, independently if running on one cluster or multiple cluster, which probably is where most of the difficulties arise at that time.
And do you see this experience from the field or in the lab, or is it a little bit of both, a combination?
Absolutely, on both of them. So we are seeing already proof of concept. We are seeing field trials. We are seeing as well deployments, production deployments, and we see that the operators are in a good hands in terms of deploying today. So most of the thing when we are looking at deploying clouds, we are focusing mainly today, and this we see on many of the requirements that we get as a vendor, is, we want zero-touch provisioning. So they say that's good. That gets you to the first phase. Now you have deployed. What we hear a little bit less is about zero-touch operations. They say how we survive after that day one. And this is where the trials, even the interpretability fest and the plug fest that we're doing, is showing all those details already into how we can manage that. And there is a series of, the operators have been in a journey since 2015 into virtualizing and now containerizing the telco infrastructure, and they have learned a lot through that journey. And again, what we are here as well is we are in a journey, so there is more steps to follow.
I want to say it's when you're looking at deployment, the data is already out. We have tens of thousands of sites already deployed commercially across thousands of kilometers, actually. And the challenges, the benchmark, it's like I said, it's the traditional network. It's not, let's say, an enterprise, what you know from a cloud. OK, I'm going to update a few servers, maybe even hundreds of servers in one data center. It's how you face with those challenges of geographically distributed. And as was mentioned, the day two part, it's not just the zero-touch deployment of the infrastructure, but upgrading, updating. You have security patches, for example, the next topic here. How do you deploy them across tens of thousands of sites?
And is there commonality, I guess, across the whole network in terms of trying to, ideally deploy a common platform with the Telco Cloud, or does different areas of the network have different characteristics, and how do you go about managing that?
So I like to use analogies in my life. It's look like a car, for example. And getting from a point A to point B, almost every car will get you, as long as it has an engine and four wheels. But then yet you select different types of cars for different types of things. Okay, it's the same thing. If you're looking at their radio access network, it does require things that you don't require in the core. So what I see from a commercial deployment today, the core tends to be one type of cloud. The far edge tends to be a different type of cloud. And then there is an overarching management that manages both of them.
Luis.
Can I say something about that? I agree with that. There are different characteristics, different requirements for each one of the applications. And as I said before, the Telco Cloud is not one single platform. It's a pool of resources. And these resources need to be configured as the operator sees fit, as the needs of each one of these use cases. And the important element here to manage this variety of different providers, different sites, and different characteristics is having standards to be capable of provisioning at the right time, the right characteristics in each one of the sites, so that the applications actually are properly deployed there. And also having standards to monitor this from all the different sites that are conforming the Telco Cloud.
And Pompeo, let's come to you, because I guess the...
Yeah, about what Luis is mentioning, we have to identify the Telco Cloud as a domain, a new domain inside the network that supports all the network functions as the guys are mentioning. And as you identify a domain, there are some specific elements to manage that, like an inventory or a full overview of all the cloud applications. And also, you need to consider that now in cloudification, you have, let's say, two lifecycle management, one from the application point of view and then from the infrastructure point of view. So you need to put it together in an upper layer, let's call it inside the OSS. You need to control it from there and can overcome limits even from the vendors from applications and vendors from the infrastructure part. So you need to consider both and have that visibility of the whole network, because you may have a core, a virtualized core, and run Cloudify. Those are different. And you can have run Cloudify in different type of vendors. So this comes with a management system that oversees all this. This is from the SI point of view, how we are reaching into the operators and tell them, listen, you can have more than just one capability.
So an SI can have a single management system to control multiple different telco cloud domains?
We require from all the vendors openness. And there's some initiative from the ETSI to standardize the way we manage different type of clouds. I'm not talking only about public cloud or private cloud. I'm talking about even certification of those. Imagine this, you have 2 clouds, let's say private cloud, and you have 3 vendors. You have to certify that in different clouds, even though you want to standardize it as a container, let's say that, but you need to prove every single one as well.
So you're saying that the standards are there, but are you seeing this type of deployment in the field, and is it working?
It's evolving. This ecosystem is evolving. It's a journey as an outside conversation we have, and it's still being some initiatives to standardize this. But it's a journey.
So Luis, back to you then as the operator, right? You're the ultimate consumer of this, and you're the guys who have to operationalize it. Mm-hmm. If you have multiple telco clouds within your network, how are you managing them?
Okay, as he said, it's a work in progress. Of course, we can manage multiple sites with one single management system, but this requires standards, so that we follow standards. There's a set of the basis or let's say the main element of the telco cloud is decoupling the software from the hardware, and this comes with challenges. The stack providers need to provide the capabilities. The CNF providers need to come in mind with this design for multiple locations, so being capable of deploying in different sites. And all this needs to work with the use of standards so that we are capable of understanding what's happening in each one of the sites and being capable of configuring with one single touch different sites from different vendors, from different technologies, and so that we can do it as what we call the zero touch, so that there's no manual intervention if we are capable of standardizing this.
Okay, so Hanan, in terms of Red Hat, I mean, obviously well known as a telco cloud provider and also in the IT space as well. What does this mean to the products that you've already got? If there's standards that are evolving, do you need to... Are you asking everybody just to go and deploy Red Hat anyway, and therefore that also gets rid of the problem? Or?
So, operators, for one reason or another, have inherited platforms, right? There is already telco clouds in the operation, right? It's just a matter of when we look into standardizing in one platform for the core or another platform for the RAN, like Guy was mentioning. That's one thing. We work on the open communities. We work on ORAN, we work on the TIP, we work with many Kubernetes communities out there, trying to bring the requirements, try to build the thing that need to be built for that to be managed. For an operator can actually bring that in-house. Of course, we do the hardening and all this kind of thing that we do as a vendor for the platform. But as well, we collaborate with them, and we most of the time, we're spending with them as well to bring, please, those requirements into those communities, because this is where we need them to be. Not when you send, of course, we want to reply, you send those on an RFI, but especially bringing them onto the community so that we can discuss openly and find the best alternative for the outcome that we want to have. Now, we have been building our cloud platform for a long time. We have this hybrid cloud vision that encompasses, of course, the public cloud, the on-prem, the private, and even the edge cloud. And we have been adding all the capabilities that is needed on the platform for running radio access network function that's pretty exigent in terms of the whole distinction between what is down there in the hardware and what the software requires, right? And all of those components have been included in there. So we're running on RAN, we're running on the core, we're running on edge as well. The difficulty arises on how the operator is able to adopt innovation in the pace that a cloud requires it. And for that, as was mentioned, is automation is key. Automations on the provisioning, automations on the operations, and automating the whole life cycle of that telco platform.
Okay, Gil, obviously Wind River are playing a massive part, and hitting the ground running definitely with some of the Open RAN deployments out there as well. I mean, do you agree that this standards-based, consensus-based approach as a community is the way of solving this issue, or how does it affect you and your product line?
Sure, absolutely standards, and even beyond standard, community open source, interoperability. We're a very big believer in this. We drive a lot of things in the ORAN Alliance, specifically we're Group 6 around this. Pretty much every Plugfest, it's all about interoperability testing. Standard, it's one thing, you define an interface, but then you need to test it. And those Plugfests, I think, are the best environment because you can have multiple vendors that in the normal day-to-day life would not even necessarily work together. And really, in also a neutral environment, test all those type of things. And those are very critical. It's very critical to progress the industry. And it's absolutely the vital part to make this happen.
Okay, great. Luis, please.
Yeah, regarding this, yeah, the standards is important, and these tests are very important because we need to move away from vendor-specific solutions and go to more generic solutions, and try to avoid ad hoc certifications, so having more general certifications. And actually, well, I can say that lately, a group of operators are working together, trying to define a common certification program for CNFs based on a reference platform that incorporates the capabilities required by different use cases. With this, we think that we can reduce the vendor-specific certifications and make something that is more valid for the industry because it's proving that it's valid for all the operators.
And does that still leave room for differentiation for the vendors, with the...
Of course, still it is. It's just the basic of validation or certification program, but still every operator may have its own requirements, specific requirements. This is only a reference platform or reference certification program.
Okay, great. Pompeo, I mean, I know that you've been looking at different types of ways to solve this problem as well. Do you just want to give a little bit of an introduction as to some of the work that you've been doing with NTT data?
Yes. Every single deployment that we do, it could be within the TIP initiative, for example. Every time we deploy a specific function, we understand that, let's see, as a CSP, you need to change your mindset because now you're deploying an application. Sometimes the enterprise application used to be deployed, but now you need to consider also the infrastructure. So a function now is not just a telco function. It's a full deployment infrastructure application and what it needs from the infrastructure below. I'm sorry. So in terms of that, you can plan network having in your mind that you have a telco function, but a specific hardware needs from the function. So this way, as Luis mentioned, having that knowledge, you understand what type of Telco Cloud configuration you can have. So in NTT, what we do is we study the software, we identify the artifacts, then we identify a set of a framework for deployment, I can recall a 5G private network group here in the tip. In that, we deploy an OMEC core. And in that deployment, we took some framework for that application deployment, we did it, and afterwards, you integrate that function, and then you test it. But you understand what is required from the infrastructure to the application point of view, what it needs to do, or what it needs to take to have a cloudification step forward. That's how we see it, okay?
So this is more of a top-down approach as well. I mean, can that work alongside the view that Louise was describing of profiling the actual infrastructure and getting a more level of consensus about how it's managed?
Yeah, that's correct. Imagine this case. We have a very specific case. It's quite a. I'm going to put an example. We develop a cloud edge technology, and in that cloud edge technology, we have to deploy two types of application: a network application that consumes specific resources for network. So we need to activate on those clusters the specific network requirement as our IOB, for example. And at the same time, we need to deploy an application, enterprise application, for a business case. And that business case application needed some GPUs. And so the same cluster could not provide that. So we need to put another cluster for that application. So understanding this from the point of view of CSP, it's quite important. And we need to do that journey together.
So I'm going to go back to Louise again, and as the consumer of this, I mean, it sounds like there's no problem. Everything is fixed. Is that right? Is it just a matter of time for this to come through, or are there more challenges and things that we need to overcome together?
It's a work in progress. As Pompeyo said, he's completely right there. There's a challenge for operators as well, because we have to change our mindset. We have to think as integrators as well, as system integrators, because we are now going to operate a platform that is going to be the basic for multiple functions from different providers. And we have to obtain the telemetry from this different infrastructure, from this common platform, to be capable of managing the applications and being able of configuring the applications or the demands of the applications at the right time. As Pompeyo said, maybe we have an application that needs a GPU. We have to make a GPU part of a cluster, a server with a GPU part of a cluster at the right time. So we need to do that. But this is all a work in progress. We still have not gone till the end yet. Of course, we're working on that.
Okay, great. So then do you think that there's anything else that we need to do on top of that between the whole community effort, or is the work that's going on and trying to add some level of commonality down in the stack, and also a bit of management layer on top is the way forward? Are there any other challenges that TIP and ORAN need to address as a community?
The ORAN, the TIP community, is working very, very good. The Roma group is working and is being very successful in defining the characteristics, the capabilities of the SMO component, and defining the use cases and testing these use cases with integrating different providers from the components. And I think this is the approach to demonstrate the interaction between different solutions, different technologies for a solution. And all this is very aligned with the standards from the ETSI. So I think that's the approach.
Okay. And one last question. I mean, as a tier one operator, you talked about you need to start thinking like an SI, and I guess as the size of Telefonica, you can upskill staff to be able to do that. But if you're a tier two, is there a different way of looking at this? Would you need to get somebody to manage your network for you?
Of course, we need support from everyone to do this. As I said before, everyone has, the key here is the decoupling. And in decoupling, everyone has the responsibilities. The stack providers need to provide the capabilities. And the integrators, and we, with the integrators, need to make this available. And the CNF providers need to have the cloud native in mind from the design, so that they guarantee that their applications will work in different infrastructure, not getting locked to a specific infra or a specific hardware. But it's a common work from all of us.
And Hanan, what do you see as the challenges, the gaps that we still need to address as a community?
Oh, there has been a lot of innovation already put into those clouds, especially on the Kubernetes side. When we demonstrate for the first time, was at KubeCon 2019, and when we are today, there is a lot of technology has been in there. I think there is still a lot of work that still need to be done. There is vendors out there that still need to adopt cloud nativeness as a pattern for development. Yes, everything that is 5G is going to be cloud native, and this is what operators expect. This is what us as platform vendors expect as well. There is still a delta in there. There is still some association, some requirement that's go stick with the hardware and this kind of thing. So we are not getting the total disaggregation world, but we are getting there. We're getting there. There is one thing that is critical as well, is participation on the PlugFest. We are seeing that the vendors are putting from themselves in there. I would like to see more participation from the operators as well in there, because we are doing that for them as well. that join that community into seeing how we can move things forward together.
Okay, great. Gil, what would you like to add?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. First of all, from someone that, like I said, experienced through a couple of deployments, I would say education is the first thing. How you operate basically a cloud-based network, disaggregated, it's very different than how you operate your traditional network. And it's not as complicated as much as knowing what are the deltas and having the right skill set and right experience. Okay? Having someone that can walk you through this journey as well, that have this experience, that done it. Those are very critical. And there is this big word that it's used all the time. It sounds very scary, system integration. And I would suggest, look at this. You don't need to have a very big team. You need to know the architecture. You need to be able to very clearly articulate and define the requirements. And then a program management, a rigorous program management. This is really, at the end of it, this big thing called system integration, that if you have this, what it means. It's the issue, like I said, it's the education. So it's a continuous education. Okay, as an industry, of course, there is evolution of features and stuff like this, but this is in everything. Okay, it's basically making this seminal shift from this how things were done until now, and this is how things will need to be done in the future.
So baseline knowledge of just the technology itself, but also knowledge of the individual tools that you may need.
Correct.
To use.
I'll give you an example in a box-based solution. It's basically about connecting interface, literally physical interfaces, and you have a problem, you basically call the vendor. Okay? In a cloud base, you now have multiple applications running, and it's not just about the physical interface. You have a problem, you need to potentially, let's say, SSH into the box and find what is the problem. Okay, you get an alarm, it suggests that it's in this area, okay, but those type of skill set, it sounds maybe very funny, but you'll be surprised. You go to maintenance engineering, and how many engineers and maintenance engineering know how to check the cable, but the whole concept of software, it's very foreign to them. So it's just skill set.
Okay, great. And finally, Pompeo, now, what challenges do you see, and do you agree with the points made?
Co-living with legacy network and the new network, which could be virtualized or cloudified network. It's a new change in how we operate. As Gil mentioned, you operate an IT application in a certain way, and you are gonna take the best of that world in order to operate the new network. But you need to consider that there are some topology, resources, inventories, and all the rest of the network running in maybe 3G or something that doesn't have anything to do with the new network. So you need to find a way to have an ecosystem that put a bridge between those and have a mixed operation until the new one takes over. It's going to take some time to address that issue. So that's one of the most difficult parts. Day 2 and whatever is it, after day 2.
Okay, and you also see this open source management system as being crucial to this as well.
We bet on that. We bet on the standards. We believe that we can promote that type of approaches, and we made an ecosystem based on open sources application that can be run in an OSS environment. We believe that, and that's what we promote. We're here for that.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you very much. I know I've learned a lot from the panel, so I'd like you to thank the speakers, and we'll move on to the next session.